if a founder watching this has never hired a PMM and thinks that they don't need one yet, what would you like to say to them?
Your market story is going to get written. And the only question is it going to be someone strategic who's holding that pen? Because we all know the general rule for startups, your first marketing hire is usually a product marketer. And there's a reason that that has kind of become the rule of thumb. That's who you want to get in first because if you don't have that strategic resource to develop, distribute, defend your market story, it gets written by everyone else. So with all these different voices, internal and external, that have competing interests.
Hmm.
Like some are competitors who are positioning against you. Sometimes you have early use cases. So you're going to have that early customer profile, your ECP, may be different than your ICP down the road. You bring on an agency to try to spin something up quickly. You could have a product leader who has a bias toward a level of effort or an exciting beta distraction. Investors are want to talk about how your brand fits into their portfolio stories. So to kind of
Hmm.
cut through the noise of all those endless competing voices trying to tell your story, you need that strong product marketer who truly owns like who you are, who you're not, why you
Hmm.
win, what pain you solve, how the market should understand. You don't shape that intentionally. The market's going to decide it for you.
Samantha, you were named a top 100 PMM influencer this year. But let's be honest, the PMM function is still fighting for its say across the table in most of the companies. So, according to you, why is that still happening in 2026?
Product marketing is not just one thing that you can easily put in a box and understand exactly what it is. You are doing positioning, you're doing storytelling, you're writing messaging, you're standing up a competitive intelligence program, you're doing commercial enablement, research, voice of customer, launch strategy. I can keep going. Actually, there's so many things.
Yeah.
And that's what
Yes.
makes us such a versatile asset. But it's also so hard to kind of synthesize that in something that could go on a bumper sticker. So when we try to own that influence, that like potpourri of go-to-market components, so outside of PMM, people can understand like they do X or they do Y. Like the answer is yes to all of those things. How do we position ourselves within an organization to create the value that that org needs? If you go to one type of company versus another, they're going to need a lot more competitive intelligence. Or they're going to need a lot more launch strategy. Understanding where your skill set is and then to create the value that you bring for that org, I think is critical. So that's a piece of it. And then the other piece I think is timing. So when product marketing gets brought in too late, you're just like nicer
Hmm.
words, but when they're brought in early, you get sharper decisions, better market moves, better launches, better positioning, better revenue outcomes. So it's really timing and
Right.
owning where you need to have influence. And I think that's how it gets the seat that it needs at the table.
That's actually absolutely right because so many companies today they get in PMMs too late in their journeys and then they fight for all these things like the revenue is not showing up, targets are not being met. Somewhere it's
Mhm,
all connected.
100%.
Yeah. Yes. So you worked across Fortune 500, fast growing tech and now health tech, two very different worlds. So does PMM actually work the same way across both of them, or does the context completely change the game?
The PMM muscle is always the same, but the context definitely changes the puzzle. In any org, you're translating market needs into what this business can uniquely deliver. And that connection point is what makes it all meaningful. So, industry stakeholders, the stakes, they may look different from one type of org to another, but the discipline is still the same. You need to listen, you need to synthesize things fast, and
Mm.
you need to figure it out. PM is the figure it
Yeah.
out function. Like every market gives you a different puzzle, and then your job is to make the pattern clear. I think that's the same, even though everything else may change.
That gets me to my next question, that health tech is one of the hardest categories to market because it's regulated, complex, emotional. So what does a good PMM look like? there versus a typical SaaS
I
product?
think health tech is the perfect place for a PMM. Like, this is where we can really thrive because what is our job if not making things that are very complicated clear? So, when
Hmm.
we like at our core, that's our value, complicated things made simple. And what can you think of as more complicated than the US healthcare system? Uh, I
Yes.
think the difference in health tech over other places is you can't just understand the product, understand the buyer, and then you're ready to go. I think when you have a more simple space, you can do those kind of core things and you're ready. To be successful in health tech, you need to understand the entire system that your product is entering. So, understanding clinical realities, operational pressure, financial constraints, regulatory risk, of course, the stakeholder dynamics, and then the human impact under all of that. So, I've worked in a lot of different places in healthcare. So, I've worked prior auth, utilization management. Like, don't these things just sound so fun? But selling to healthcare payers versus healthcare providers, totally different. And even though you're like learning something one way and then learning something another way, having both of those skill sets or like all the different areas that you could work in, when you bring it together, the more different things you learn, the more you understand the ecosystem. And it's kind of this compound value. I think with health tech or with any niche that you really go into, staying in one industry and really becoming an expert when it's a complex industry can really amplify your value as a product marketer.
I love your take on that actually, because I think health tech is, we feel that it's very boring, like when you look at it. So, like normal tech, where you're doing all this AI cool stuff and all, and then health tech, because without that function, it just falls apart, is what I
Yes,
feel.
100%.
I had this question that how does AI change the game in health tech? Is it like very different from what we do for B2B SaaS and other companies? Or is it very difficult with AI coming up and all these tools and all?
I think the thing that is the most exciting for AI for product marketers, probably regardless of industry, is just how it can amplify all of your efforts. So, in an
Hmm.
industry that's evolving so quickly, the way healthcare is, like there could be a regulatory thing that happens tomorrow that could change a bunch of things. There could be in any industry, I guess, like vertical integration, M&A, all of the things that change dynamics. And as you're bringing products to market, keep up with what's changing. When you have AI incorporated into your product marketing workflows, you get your message, your go-to-market narrative updated in real time versus waiting for the sales cycle, which in a lot of health tech spaces, like depending on what part of health tech you're in, could be 18 months. So if you launch a product and then you have to wait 18 months for your close loss analysis, you could have been positioning it wrong for all of that time. But
Yeah.
now with all of the sales recording, technology that we have, as well as like messaging platforms, you can see in real time, here's how I need to improve this. And you become a lot more effective and reactive is the wrong word, but like in real time, and able to build a lot more
Yeah.
momentum. And I think that's so, so exciting.
Yes. It enables you actually, like, to move faster or to move in a better direction if you feel there's no clarity.
100%. I'd say more than half of my career has been both in health tech and in product marketing. And I think it's just both of them are the most exciting spaces to be in because from an industry perspective, I think your health is your wealth. And if you're going to work hard all
Yes.
day, it's so amazing to do it. That's contributing to something that's so, so important to everyone. And, like, contributing to that, like,
Yeah.
overall overarching thing that, to me, means a lot. And then for product marketing, I am a storyteller at heart, and I'm a nerd, so being able to, like, do the kinda, like, puzzle pieces to figure out how to tell a story, I think is such an exciting thing to get to do all day. Like, sometimes I'm like, "I can't believe this is my job. This is so fun." So I love it.
Yeah. Because if you don't like what you're doing, it's not gonna go down well after like a few years or few years in the particular
Yeah,
industry.
and I talk to people all the time who are trying to pivot into product marketing, and I find it fascinating understanding where people have gone and then what interests them about it because as I said at the top, there's so many different pieces to the product market remit, so
Yeah.
there's so many different entry points and then different parts of it that people wanna kinda double down on. Because it's such a broad function, it's really hard to be 10 out of
Yes.
10 at all the different pieces. I think that
Yeah.
specialization is really important to both love it, but also to be able to be a momentum maker.